everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Free Voice. Today, I have Mari Malek with me, which is very interesting and fun because she's amazing. And she's actually, so Mari is a refugee from South Sudan, and she came to New York as a teenager. She became a supermodel and an actress, and she is now using her platform to help people in her country and wider Africa. I wanted you to maybe go a little bit deeper on that introduction, Mari. Welcome.
So yes, as she said, I'm from South Sudan. I came here as a refugee many years ago as a young girl, and I am now using my platform to raise awareness, advocate. I act and model and DJ, and I use that platform to shed light on many of the matters and subjects in the world that are unheard of or forgotten about or not really touched on as much, such as the refugee crisis, girls' education in developing countries, and women empowerment in general. So, yeah.
Which is already super amazing, all of it. So yes, and I know that you have a pretty interesting story about how you came to the US and what really happened, because you were born in South Sudan during the war. So you have, seen a lot and gone through a lot as a child, I believe. And and also, how you made it happen, because obviously I believe that you are a big role model, especially for the girls and the people back in your country that you're helping today. And, your story is very interesting. So let's hear more of that.
How I made it happen this far?
And how you got out, because it's that's another pretty big thing that you managed to get out of there during the war.
Well, how we got out, thanks to my mother. She's also a fierce feminist, and she was married as a young girl in her teens, like 14. And she did not want to have the same experiences that she experienced to happen to her daughters, myself and my two younger sisters. And as the war kept on progressing in South Sudan in the 80s, mid to late 80s, she was already planning to take her daughters out of the country. In my world, I was still a young girl, so I was just, living my life as a child. Not that I had much of a childhood, but it was just me being in the mindset of a child and being happy to have my family, regardless of the situations that we are in. But my mom was already taking steps ahead and planning our escape, regardless of the situation. So one night she had already made plans, and she told me that we were leaving. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And that week we left South Sudan and we escaped from Sudan into Egypt, because that was the closest country we can go to for safety and to be recognized as official refugees, so that we can get asylum and transfer into another safer place. And we lived in Egypt for about 4 years, waiting to get this sponsorship and this opportunity to leave as refugees and start a new life. And finally, we won the refugee lottery, which is a system that was provided at the time where they just pick random families and they get to leave. And we got the lottery and we were able to come to the USA in the late 90s and started a new life here as a teenager, and didn't speak English, didn't know much about what this country is or the culture or any of that. But all I knew is that we had left a place that was not safe for us. And that was my mother's priority for her daughters. And yeah, that's when my life started here. I got discovered as a teen to become a model. And then I realized in between that I have a purpose bigger than myself, purpose bigger than just existing. And the fact that we were one of the few lucky ones, refugees who were able to escape. Like some of my friends are still living there. Some of my friends were born in the refugee camp, and that's all they know. So I thought that that was the perfect time for me to start using my platform to raise awareness and to share the stories of the voiceless and of the helpless and of women like my mother and girls like myself who go through this type of stuff that people have no idea that we exist or that we're going through this type of crisis. So yes, that's how kind of started for me with this whole process of wanting to utilize my platform to raise awareness on matters that matter to me and to the world.
Amazing. So going back to the refugee camp, because you were there for a pretty long time, 4 years is not just, a couple of weeks or months. How was it living there? What did it look like? What was your everyday life like there?
Yeah, so
education, like I'm sure there were a lot of kids there, and how were they, considered or taken care of, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot, but our process, even though we were refugees, our process was slightly different because Egypt did not have like an official refugee camp. It was more like where a lot of refugees and people facing conflict migrated to. So we all migrated into a town that we all lived in, where everybody knew, oh, these are the people who migrated, or they're refugees, or they're escaping conflict. And a lot of the large high-scale organizations were working there, such as the UNFPD, such as UNICEF, such as immigration organizations. And my mom knew that that's the place we needed to go in order to apply for asylum and potentially get a chance. We were closer to escape to Egypt from the north of Sudan than others who escaped directly from the south of Sudan and walked all the way to Kenya or Ethiopia. So our situation was traumatic, but it was not as traumatic as other people who walked from one country to the other. We took a boat, and then we ended up in the slums where all these refugees lived and migrants. And yeah, we waited there. It was the hardest thing ever. As I told you, I was a child. I was 9, 10 years old, and being there was very tough. It was dark. You can smell like even the energy of sadness, the energy of struggle, the energy of oppression, and just all the heavy things people have went through. You can smell it, you can feel it, you can see it every day. There's everything imaginable that you can imagine that happens there, meaning every bad thing that you can think of happens there, whether children being trafficked, whether women are being violated against, whether even people are being, their organs are being harvested to just have a chance in life. Literally, there were, what do you call them? Corrupt people who supposedly help refugees, and they would offer you a ticket to escape and have a better life for your kidneys. And unfortunately, some people would do that because they think that, this is going to help them, and many would die or disappear. Yeah, so these were the type of things that happened besides the other things that happened when we had to escape our country, villages being burned. We are indigenous people. I come from ancient Nubia. So we were being targeted against specifically as people because of our skin color, because of our culture, because of our background. So this is a huge, deep issue that just have been following us around. And over, we continue to face so much of the discrimination, oppression, and just being mistreated as less than a being. So yeah, that was the process. We couldn't go to school safely. We fought adults, myself and my friends, literally. When we went to school, people would treat us so badly because we are refugees, because we're Black, because they think we're like animals and we don't deserve to be on the same status as them. This is in Egypt. We would get kicked out or thrown out of trains, buses, all kinds of stuff. And mind you, we're little kids. These are little kids, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old kids going through this every day. And honestly, like so much was happening physically, emotionally, everything. But also I realized there was other deeper things being instilled in me subconsciously. For example, with the kids that we traveled with, we started forming groups as a community when we went to school so that we can protect each other. When someone attacked us, like the young boys would help the young girls and make sure that no one hurt us. And that was the way we were able to maneuver through going to school. Such a simple thing. And literally all of our minds were about, we just want to get an education so that we can get a better life. Why can't we just have this simple right? Why can't we just be treated with dignity as humans? That's what we were thinking at that age. And at that age, we formed these groups so that we can protect each other along the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unimaginable for people that don't often hear these stories, or what actually really happens to people personally. And, you and me, we worked kind of on the same issues in the past in our humanitarian work. And I have also worked a lot on conflicts in Africa and across the world. And the information that I have, I think regular people just would, it's just, you can't even imagine how tough it is to live there during those circumstances as children, as women, as people in general, and what really goes on. So, and I know that this truly inspired you to make a difference and go back to South Sudan and make a difference, start an organization and help those kids out there that, to get an education and to do for them what you actually had just because you were able to escape. So yeah, I want to hear more about your amazing organization, what you do and how you started it. What made you start it?
What made me start it? I guess, like I said, it was some things were just being recorded in my mind subconsciously. Like, for example, from the time where my mother told me we are escaping South Sudan. And I was just completely shocked, and I didn't traumatized to be leaving my country and our family. And I'm just asking my mom, why do we have to leave? And she's saying, because you can make a difference later if you have a better chance in life. Maybe you can come back. Don't forget where you come from. So that was subconsciously instilled in me. And when I came to America and I was discovered to become a model, it all just started making sense that I needed to be more of a model with purpose, more of a model activist. I felt like it was not a coincidence for me to be stumbling upon all these things. And so as I started modeling and knowing that there's so much awareness that need to be put out there on the refugee crisis and on supporting and empowering girls like myself, women like my mother, I took the opportunity to start speaking. But of course, you know, as usual, there's many people sleeping in this world. So in the fashion industry, nobody was understanding my purpose with that. They're just like, you need to just shut up and model. You look beautiful, just model, you know? And I'm like, no, if I'm going to be put in a magazine, if I'm going to walk a show, if I'm going to shoot a campaign, I want people to know I am Mari Malek. I am a refugee and I'm here to make a change and a difference with the glam and all, you know? So yeah, that didn't work out. They didn't understand it. So I just kept on moving forward, doing it on my own until it stuck, and eventually it stuck, and the industry started to move forward a little bit with doing activism in fashion, or even if you're an actor or whatever, it became a thing, and it's kind of a thing now. So, but you know, it has to be a real thing for me. So people started hearing about what I do. I was invited to the United Nations. I spoke around the world with world leaders sharing my story. But I realized it's deeper than just sharing my story. It's about taking action and making things happen. And what I realized, I was that little village girl sitting in rooms with world leaders. And there wasn't many that represented my journey, my story, the things that I went through, the things that refugees went through. It was a bunch of people who have never experienced what a refugee goes through, what a young girl would go through in this process, what a woman goes through in this process, what is really the deep issue, and how can we help people directly by finding out from them what they need versus creating stories for them and what we can provide to help them. So that's when I started to take the steps that I need to get more involved versus just sharing my story. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to start my own organization, women run, refugee run, and people that are like-minded, grassroots level, transparent, real, where we help children living in conflict by providing them access to education. And to me, education means enlightenment. I was enlightened enough to know that I have a purpose bigger than me. I was able to see that because I'm able to read and write. And if you're not able to read and write, how can you even understand your rights? So that's how Stand for Education was born. And I started going back home, started by supplying kids with school supplies. Eventually, we were able to partner with people and build some schools. And now today we're working on building our third school, which is going to be a vocational school that supports 100 leaders, youth leaders every year. We'll have new youth leaders that'll graduate to become world leaders. And we connect them with other 100 leaders and change agents like yourself, for example. We work together on several things where we raise funds to help girls with menstrual health and such things. So we are connecting 100 change agents with 100 young youth leaders to help us manifest the school so that we can grow these young youth leaders into the next world leaders with dignity and with what they deserve. So that's what Stand for Education is for me. It's about enlightening people to their fullest potential by providing access to education, by providing access to arts. Arts is therapy, especially for me. That's how I'm able to maneuver through all my trauma as a refugee. And by providing help to girls and women to empower them.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And you know, as you say, the most important thing is to be able to read and write, because that's how you access information. I mean, today with the internet and everything, you can get any education online. I mean, you can do so much, and therefore, you know, being able to read and write is one of the most important things for these kids, and for everyone. You know, really to access information, to be informed about what's going on, to be informed about you know, your decisions, your own decisions, your own life. So that's, you know, absolutely important. And I know you, I mean, you and I have worked together on several campaigns. One of them was actually on periods, which at the time I remember was a very taboo topic. And I think
Oh, yeah, I know,
we were
right?
both very, very, you know, scared that we would get attacked from everywhere because we were suddenly talking about women's periods. And then in the end, it was actually the opposite. I mean, we had put so much energy and love into that project, and the outcome was amazing. It spread over several continents globally. People joined, and it was amazing.
Right.
But then, so I want to
We
know
got
more.
the taxes lifted off. Remember, we got the taxes lifted off of tampons. Yeah, we created a revolution.
Yes, with many other wonderful people out there and women. So that was amazing. And I know also you've done some work in South Sudan on that and helping girls getting access, because I think most people don't know how hard it is to even access period products in these countries. And then girls, you know, of course, being ashamed going to school and not having a toilet or anything to change. So they rather stay home. So those are just like basic necessities for us, but for these girls, it's truly something else. They actually, you know, will not be able to go to school for maybe 3 to 5 days a month, and that's a lot, you know, when you think about it. So what have you been doing there? Tell us more about your projects there.
Yes, so we have a stand-up girl program at Stanford Education that focuses on tackling the obstacles girls and women face. And obviously one of them is menstruation, which is lack of period support or management. So there is such a thing as period poverty, and it especially affects women in developing countries, but it's also affecting women all over, even in America, women in prison, young girls in low-income families. There's so much that's happening with that. And that's when we got together to work on it, you and I and several of the partners, to get more awareness on periods in South Sudan and such places. And so far we have been able to help hundreds of girls, probably over 500. And we kept them in school. One of the main things that we found out, girls were not going to school because of their period. When they get their period, they just stay home because they lack the sanitary product, they lack privacy in school. And generally, the culture believes that she's now a woman and she doesn't need to go to school anymore, so we can marry her off to a man who will, you know, take care of her and the family financially. So that was the issue. And so we realized that we need to help girls get education by also providing them with menstrual access to product easily and effortlessly and in dignity, and be able to also provide information to them and education on how they can care for themselves and manage themselves safely. So yes, that's one of the big things that we are working on to keep girls in school, and it's been helping. It evolved tremendously. For example, at Malek Primary School, there was only like maybe less than 20 girls. And after we are able to provide menstrual health management and support, we're able to move up to hundreds of girls. Same with our secondary school, and same throughout the countries. So this is such a huge, huge step for us to even be able to speak about periods to people that live in my country or that have such taboos regarding periods. Now we have some men and boys who support women through their menstrual health management and advocate for them. So that's a huge, huge step for us. And people are starting to learn, just because a girl gets her period doesn't mean she's a woman and ready to become a wife and a mother and forget her life. She can have her period, she can go to school, she can feel protected, and she can be a businesswoman and a leader and a mom and a wife all at the same time, like me.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's awesome what you're doing over there. So on another note, I know that a lot of information about, sadly enough, a lot of information from Africa does not reach us in the daily news the way it should, because I know, and you know too, working in the humanitarian field and with the UN and all these other organizations, we of course get updates all the time through our internal networks, but I rarely see something in the news. And now during the COVID crisis, I know that there's been a lot of crisis in Africa and developing world, just because these people obviously are much more vulnerable to everything that's happening during a crisis like this, much more so than we are. And I know that the UN has announced that there will be millions more people starving to death this year and last year just because of COVID. So how has the situation been for you in South Sudan and your school and everything else, and with the lockdowns, and what do you think has been the most challenging part?
Oh wow, it has been a shit show, seriously. It's so in 2020, the beginning of 2020, around March, when the whole country shut down here, they also started shutting down other countries. And mind you, South Sudan wasn't even really affected with any cases. And then mind you, our organization helps house girls and keep them safe in schools. So for example, one of the schools that we're partnered with, we have 100 girls who sleep, eat, and stay in the school. This is how we are able to keep them protected, get their education, and to build them into those leaders that they want to become. COVID hits, we're told everything got to shut down, everybody got to go home. Nobody knows who's going where. It was really devastating and heartbreaking. Some of the students, the lucky ones, could possibly go back into their villages, to their family, but it's not so safe either. And then the majority of them had nowhere else to go. This is where they get their food. This is where they feel safe. This is where they're protected. This is where they're educated. This is their life. And it was just stripped away from them. And there was nothing that we can do, because these rules are coming from the law and from political leaders and all of that stuff. It kind of depressed me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know what to do. It was overwhelming. First of all, I'm trying to take care of myself, my family, trying to figure out what all this is about. And then on top of it, we have to figure out how to help and support the girls and the people back home. It woke me up extremely, because I realized how important information access is. We barely have access to electricity, internet, media in South Sudan. As I mentioned, majority of it is indigenous. Whoever that has access to that is living in the city and probably travels around a lot, or the diaspora. But the people who are there, the indigenous people who live there, the civilians, they have zero access. Some of them had no idea what COVID is. And also the borders were still open. So some people were coming in and out of the country. So that's how the COVID was able to be spread there. And it was moving a little bit even though the numbers were really low, it was moving a little bit fast because we don't have access to much medical help or support. Like there's barely, you can literally count the hospitals in South Sudan with your hand. They were saying there were only like 2 ventilators that were available. It was crazy. So a lot of things were happening and I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how to provide the simple access of information of wash your hands for 20 seconds. Don't shake other people's hands. Wear a mask. Like those little information, there was no way that these people would know about it, right? Yeah. But thanks to our resiliency in the country and especially the youth, our team of youth change makers decided that we are going to fight this regardless of the limited amount of access to information or resources that we have for safety. And we started collecting as much help as possible to help who we can while even the schools were shut down. That meant to walk door to door, provide food for families, to provide them with masks if they needed, to provide them with soaps and clean water. Like, first of all, there's no clean water access as much there, let alone us going to tell people, hey, you need to use clean water to wash your hands with. You know, they're like, we just need to drink water, you know, we just need to eat. We just need to survive. So literally the pandemic did not help us at all. It became like another pandemic on top of a pandemic. And in my own personal opinion, I feel like a lot of the things that were done were not really fair to some of the people that struggles. Like, for example, shutting down the schools when there was really no COVID or no one was affected yet. But you know, sending out the children actually made it even more dangerous. Yeah. And closing the schools made it even more dangerous to go and contract COVID, because some of them had to start going into the big cities to go make money or survive or even ask for food, unfortunately. And other unimaginable things. So it has been a very, very, very difficult process. But we were able to move through it and survive. It's been a difficult process for many globally, but the vulnerable of the vulnerable have suffered the most and are still suffering the most. I mean, imagine people living in refugee camps on top of each other. Yeah, like they can't protect themselves from this. And if it hits in a refugee camp, it's like, that's it. What can we do? Because they're in there. But there needs to be a much more plan for vulnerable people, a better plan for vulnerable people, how to help them better in ways that actually is respectable also to their cultures, to their belief, and to their environment.
Yeah, 100%. Also because we can't even imagine how it is to live, you know, in poverty in that way, where it's not like you can go to the bank and get some money and buy your family some food. It's, you know, some people live $1 a day or less. And they are, I mean, if you take their business away, if you take the school away and the kids are not able to get that meal, those meals in school, they're basically, they have nothing. They have no food and they will starve. It's and not even to take that into consideration as the international community is absolutely crazy to me, you know, that we are not even discussing these things. And you don't hear that on the news here. I mean, no one has heard that. When you look on the UN websites, and the UN there was a few articles, but very few, but no one is on the ground talking to people about what's happening there. We constantly talk to people in the Western world about what's going on, but nothing from there. So it's very nice, you know, hearing some stuff from you, because it's definitely underreported. It's always been, but even in these really crazy times, it's even worse that it's so underreported.
Yeah, it's really a terrible situation, and there needs to be a better plan for that. And it doesn't make sense that there isn't a better plan. Like all those large organizations that were there helping people, and then when the country shut down, they all had to pack up and leave, and also shut everyone down in the country who the people of the country scraped the little that they had to like sell bananas under a tree or whatever. They couldn't even have a way to take care of themselves no more. And it's devastating. Many lives were lost there because of starvation, more than COVID during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have got to do better.
Yeah, 100%. And those are numbers that probably will come out soon or have, because if you look for it, I'm sure you can find it. But yeah, we absolutely have to do better. I agree with you. And I think it's you can't just apply the same plan and program on everything, because situations are so extremely different in different places. So it's absolute ludicrous to me that, you know, we're handling everything the same way. It's not possible. It's not possible in these places.
Right.
So I do agree with you. So anything else you want to add from your organization? How is it working from New York now? And you haven't been able to go back for a while, right? Just because of COVID. So
Yeah.
how does that feel to you?
I really want to go back. I can't wait. Haven't been able to go back since 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're working on going back. And as I said, right now we are starting back up. Our hopes are up. The kids need us, and the people that we're helping need us, so we cannot give up on them. We're just going to continue doing our work, and that's what we are doing. We're advocating more. We are finding ways of how to support people with the little basic needs, such as providing them with food, water, soap, clean water, such things. And on the side, we are building our school, which is we're looking for change agents who are like-minded to partner with us to manifest this this dream that we have. And so far, yeah, we're working on that. So we're constantly looking for people to collaborate with, because without working together, as you can see, this is a large scale of a problem that has many, many problems within the problem. So we have to work together and align and partner and collaborate with different like-minded people and people who know what they're doing and who really care about the betterment of humanity in general, so that we can make things better, not only just for the organization, but for the whole world. I think that this whole time of having to go through the pandemic has been an awakening, a universal awakening, that we need to do better with our lives as human beings, that we need to have respect for ourselves and nature itself, and that we need to advocate and take action more than ever to protect us. And yeah, we can't do it without constantly being shut out from lack of access to information, or lack of access to getting the information, or censoring or such things. So we have to definitely look deeper why all of this is happening, and how can we make things better collectively and tackle it, take action.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And we are definitely, I mean, I do believe that we are, because of everything that's going on in the world, we also have an opportunity right now to change it around, you know, to do better, to vote with our wallets, to not support the big companies that are, you know, supporting billionaires, to become richer and control more
Right.
of the stuff out there. So, you know, supporting local businesses, small businesses, women-led businesses, organizations, and all of that stuff is up to us. So if you keep shopping at Amazon, you're not going to make things change. You're not. You're just going to keep the system up the way it is. And for some people to be extremely poor and some to be extremely rich. And also, I think, I mean, there are people that have even counted, like if we would all share the money that's out there today in the world, all the money that's currently present, we would all kind of have enough, more than enough, to live really good lives. So it's up to us to change this, and I do agree with you. I also wanted to share, because I think it's kind of funny that you ended up doing a movie with a Swedish director. So that's how you linked to Sweden, because now I'm back here and I know
2 movies, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're definitely connected to Sweden, and you have to come here at some point. But you did a movie, leading role actually, with Fares, who here in Sweden is a pretty famous actor. So you did that. I think the movie is called The Nile Hilton Incident.
Yes.
And it's available where, for those who want to watch it?
It's on Amazon Prime.
So I have watched it, and I really liked it. It was a very good movie. So I would encourage everyone to watch it too, because you play an amazing role there. A little bit actually going back to your past with Egypt and the whole refugee stuff, right?
Yeah, it's definitely connected to literally almost everything we're going through. It's about the Egyptian youth revolution that took place, because for the first time ever, the Egyptian youth stood up to these corrupt political leaders, and they wanted their rights and they fought for it. And yes, the movie was focused on that, which reminds me of all the stuff that we're fighting for right now in the world, when it comes to oppression, when it comes to the whole Black Lives Matter, when it comes to us fighting for our medical freedom and information. And yeah, so it basically, it's relevant to the times and, you know, everything that we have been going through. And it's also relevant to the refugee crisis, which I felt super connected to. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's based on true events.
Yes, exactly. And so I wanted to also let people know where they can find you, find out more about your work, donate to your organization, because I mean, my experience, I've been working with the UN, but also with smaller organizations. And I always say this because I truly believe this. I've never seen so much work done for so little money as with organizations like yours, because people that run them, they are usually from there, and their heart is, it's in their heart, you know, right, to go back and make a difference. So yeah, I truly, you know, just encourage everyone to always give to the smaller organizations, because I worked with them and I've seen the effects and the successes. It's absolutely, you know, amazing what organizations like yours can accomplish. So yes.
Yeah, there's like this whole thing sometimes in people's minds about, oh, small organizations, we don't know about them, or grassroots, or they may be corrupt, or the money will be stolen. But people need to be more afraid of giving money to the large organizations, because half of the time that money does not make it into the hands of the people that they raised it for. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense why we still have refugee camps when we can be building sustainable communities and schools and safe spaces. I don't know why it's okay. I mean, the Holocaust was not okay.
All of those things. And how many billions have been put into all of those things?
How many
the operational costs are so high for those bigger organizations that yes, it's absolutely,
it's crazy how many billions go into. For example, South Sudan was literally, before the pandemic, was going through a famine every year. And every year, $1 billion or so was raised. And the next year, there was again in the famine.
Which could probably everyone.
Crazy. And mind you, South Sudan alone, South Sudan and Somalia was facing famine, and Yemen. South Sudan and Somalia alone can feed the whole entire Africa. We have sustainable soil. We have all the resources and minerals. This does not make sense. So yes, I encourage people, do your research, look deeper. Just because you see a celebrity with a huge organization doesn't mean you have, that's where you want to give. You should give with your heart, and you should give to where you know that people are really going to get the help directly. And you should be able to support the small organizations. And even aside from that, support your friends, support the small businesses, support your community. These are the times to do that. If we want to change things, then we're going to have to change things. If we want to have equality and better employment, better schools, better medical system, better leaders, we, the people, have the power to do this, but we have to be putting that power into ourselves and not putting it into the hands of people who really don't give a crap about us and who just give a crap about their own pockets. So, yeah.
Yes. And where can people find you and your organization and you know, all your social media? Because I know you're pretty active there and talking about the stuff you do.
So you guys can find my organization at www.standforeducation.com, or you can go to my website, marimalek.com. And I'm on Instagram at I am Mari Malek. So there you go.
I will put this information also, you know, in the article, of course, so people can find you. But yes, Mari, thank you so much for being an amazing hope for people out there and an inspiration, because you definitely inspire me and have for many years. And thank you for the beautiful stuff you're doing for the world.
This is such a great thing that you're doing. We need to have more real and authentic stories to be shared on platforms that are not, you know, censored. Right? Like, we need to hear more real stuff. So yes, thank you for doing this. And yeah, hopefully I come back and we'll have more discussions.